cost to doing the work and there's a cost to staying the same. You have to decide which price you value.
Welcome to another episode of the She Blooms podcast. My name is Stacie Danielle. If you haven't known already, I just want to thank you so much for just tuning in and joining me in this space where I get to just pour into you guys. Please know that if it has been a blessing in your life, it has also just been a blessing in my life. Just the vulnerability, the transparency that I get to share in a different way that I typically don't share with my audience. So thank you for all who have supported, who have watched the episodes, who have been listening on Spotify and Apple Music. It has just been so tremendous, the feedback that I have been getting from you guys. And I'm just, again, once honored to just be in this space with you guys all and connecting with you. Please stay tuned because we are going to be rolling out a few other things where you guys get to further connect with me, and which I am super excited about as I just expand in connecting with my audience, but more so in a sense of allowing you guys to be just in some of the intimate parts of my life that I typically don't share. So I am excited. Please stay tuned. If you are following me on Instagram, my Instagram is inbedwithdani, DANI. And our podcast Instagram is She Blooms with 2 S's and an underscore at the end. Please stay tuned. We are going to start answering live questions and doing more Instagram lives, as well as some other things that we have up our sleeve. So stay tuned as we are doing this whole thing and just connecting with individuals who are just on their journey of healing and growing and really connecting with themselves in a deeper way than they have before in the past. Anyway, so the holidays are coming, and you guys, I have never been a fan of the holidays. It just has never been just a strong suit for me. And I think as I am getting older, I am not necessarily loathing the holidays, but there is another component where I am just feeling deeply saddened by the idea of the holidays. If you guys know, I live in Minnesota, and I am here alone. It is just me, my kids. I have some friends here who are great, but all of my family is back west, and it is a very, very challenging time for me because I don't always have the opportunity to get back home. And the reason why is because, as you know, like, I'm divorced, so our custody arrangements sometimes call for my ex to have the kids the following day or him to have the day before. So unless I plan accordingly, and unfortunately the last 2 years I have worked over the holidays, but it has been a challenge getting back home to just spend time with my family, and hopefully that changes. But I think right now I had been feeling just the heaviness of the holidays, and I know so many other people are as well. I work in crisis, and I know so many people have been struggling with the holiday season coming up, and I know this is a time where we are supposed to feel joy, we're supposed to feel cheery, but that is not the reality for a lot of people. I think we are faced with the idea that we are grieving the loss of friends, we are grieving the loss of family, we are feeling the disconnect and isolation, that we are not connected to the people that mean the most to us, that we love, and it has just been heavy. If you followed me through last year on Instagram, you know that I have mentioned many times where I struggle with seasonal depression. And last year I did a really good job of getting a hold of it. So I made sure that right at the beginning of the fall, I immediately made sure that my routines were in check, my eating habits were in check, everything. And I think this season looks a little different because I am trying to first balance the routine, or trying to seek out a routine, because my schedule is a little different this year. But we are still trying to hang on and trying to find and muster up the strength and the courage to continue to push on despite not feeling the best, not feeling the greatest, feeling alone, feeling afraid, having these worries, and really resting in that. I know last episode I talked about the idea of just owning the fact that you aren't okay. And I had to come to the realization that not only was I not feeling okay, like I'm also feeling alone. And I know that, right, we can say, like, we know that God is with us all the time, and I know that God has been pouring me into me in that way and showing me that he is never leaving my side, that he is 100% with me. But that doesn't change the fact that there is still a component where I feel alone, I feel afraid, that there is just a heaviness in my heart of not being connected to people. And I have been in this space before, and I was praying to God the other day because I'm just like, I had to let go of a few different relationships in my life that was very devastating for me. I think emotionally devastating for me and draining, but I know that the purpose behind that serves such a better outcome than what I originally intended to. And so as I'm sitting in this space of feeling alone, I'm just like, God, please, like, I don't know if I can go through another season of isolation. Like, I don't know if I have the strength. I don't know if I have the willpower to allow you to call me into this space. And as I was pleading with God, like, I heard him say that I am not calling you into a season of isolation. I am simply positioning you in a place that allows you to have the relationships that you desire and that I desire for you. And it's so easy to compromise and stay in relationships and community with people despite knowing that it is not the best for you, just out of fear of being alone, not wanting to feel alone, not wanting to really get in that sunken place. And I knew that if I trust God fully, that means I need to fully surrender to him too, and allow whatever work that he's doing in my relationships and within myself play out appropriately, so that allows me to get to the next place. I know that there has just been a heaviness in my heart, and I have been trying to push through it. I have been trying to get through it. And I am so big, right? Like, I'm so big about safety. I'm so big about security. I'm so big on finding your rhythm to get back to yourself. And the reason why is because I have been in touch and I have seen the lowest parts of me, and that is never something that I want to go back to. And in order for me to not go back to that place, I have to be cognizant about the relationships that I am attaching myself to. I have to be cognizant about what God is calling me or what he's saying to me, and actually answering him in that moment to avoid going to that place. 3 years ago, I had never so strongly felt the desire to want to end my life. And I know this is a sensitive topic, and I know a lot of people don't speak about it because it makes it real. One thing I want to say is that speaking about suicide with people that you love doesn't mean that they're going to commit suicide. It actually opens up the doors of opportunity for them to share what is happening in your life, what's happening in their life, and you can be a supportive person for them. And I didn't have that, unfortunately. I didn't have the safety and security of the relationships at that time to entrust people with. I had my therapist, like, I had her who was checking in on me constantly. There had been so many moments that I just reached out to her because I'm just like, I feel like it's gonna be today. Like, I remember just being like, I feel like it's gonna be today. Like, I had a plan, there was intent. And I remember, like, through that process of like feeling at my complete lowest, I remember God just like wrapping his arms around me. And the thing is, like, there was just so much stigma between the church and mental health. And I'm so glad that there are so many other, Christians, there are so many other pastors who are utilizing their platform to normalize the component, because yes, faith can take you so many different places. Faith can, allow you to push through and muster up the courage, but what happens when faith is not enough? What happens when you are genuinely faced with reality of wanting to end your life, when you don't have the willpower, when you don't feel like God is enough? And I think we often find ourselves in those moments where it's like, this isn't enough to get me through. Like, this isn't enough to push me through. And the thing with trying to push through on faith oftentimes comes at the cost of avoiding what you're feeling. And if you are constantly avoiding what you're feeling, you are minimizing the effects of how fast you can push through it. And I told myself that I was no longer going to hide from the fact that I struggle from depression. I was no longer going to hide the fact that there had been moments where I just wanted to end it all because I didn't see a way out. And as I approached those dark moments of my life, and I felt like God was silent, and I felt like there was no way that I can continue on, like, I saw the light at the end of the tunnel. And even if that light at the end of the tunnel was at least getting out of bed that day, taking a shower and taking care of myself, that was still a light. And I know that God didn't take his hands off me. I know that there was never a moment where he left my side, but I had to sit in what was uncomfortable because I had been running my entire life. I had been running from what I felt. I had been running away from trauma, and for the first time, I was forced to sit in everything, every insecurity, every disbelief in God, and feeling like that he can pull me through those moments. And I know that we try to mask our pain. We try to push through worship. We try to listen to the sermon, and it's still questioning. Like, it's not gone. Like, we will go to church on Sunday and get a great message, and then we'll leave and we'll still feel that emptiness. We'll still feel that heaviness in our heart. And we ask God, like, when are you going to show up? Like, I'm showing up for you. I'm praying for you, praying to you. Like, I'm trusting you to get me through this place. And we question, like, what's next? Like, if I am doing all of this, then what is the point? What's the purpose? And I remember, like, having those moments of just being like, if I am committing my life to you, like, if I am surrendering to you, if I am trusting and leaning on faith that you'll get me in this moment, like, why do I still feel so heavy? Like, why does this feel so real for me? And I knew it was because I needed to stop. I needed to sit in that. I needed to stop running. I needed to stop pretending that it didn't exist, which I think so often happens, is that we try to pretend that the mental health doesn't exist. We try to pretend that the depression doesn't exist. We try to pretend that we're not in pain rather than actually trusting God through that. And when we avoid the pain, when we avoid the discomfort, we further slump into it. And I am never the type of person to say, believe your emotions, right? Because your emotions are fluid. They will change constantly. But the reality is, like, there is still a component of what you're feeling is real. And it is first addressing the realness of that and knowing that what I'm feeling feels real for me right now. My depression feels real right now. Me not being able to get out of my bed feels real right now. The heaviness that's going on in my life, not feeling like I have a way, feels real right now. And when you can first identify the realness in your experience, then you can tap into what God says. What does he say? He says that he's never going to leave you nor forsake you. He says that he's going to make everything turn out for the good of those who love him. And as you just blindly trust and put all of the faith in the power and what he is saying to you, what he is speaking over you, it allows you to find that courage to continue to push through. And sometimes that push is what we need. It's not running from it. It is not trying to deny that it exists. It is pushing through despite what we feel. That next push is always going to take you to the next level. It's always going to take you to the provision that God is asking you to rely on. I know that because I have been able to confront myself, confront my demons, there is nothing that continues to have a hold over me. Why? Because I have looked Satan in the face and I had told him that no, I am not going to believe your lies. I am not going to believe that it ends here. I know that there is a purpose greater than me that will allow me to see that God has been standing here. And the biggest trick of the enemy is wanting you to believe that you are alone and that God isn't for you. And if we allow Satan to creep into our minds and essentially, distorted or contaminated, we will always surrender to him rather than surrendering to God. And you have to be bold in what you're facing. You have to identify what you're going through. You have to be loud to God. I think we try to conceal what we're feeling. We try to hide from God because we're just like, if I'm experiencing this frustration with you, then I must not have faith. Like, I must not feel that you're real. I must not believe that you will do it for me. And when we start to believe that lie, or we start to really demand God to show up in those places, you will be surprised at what he can do. But first, you have to stop running from him. You have to stop pretending and putting on a fake smile and going about your life like as if everything is okay. It is not okay, and it is okay to say that you're not okay. And as you say that you're not okay, you allow God to enter in that space with you where he can comfort you, where he can pour his love into you. He's not scared of your big emotions. He's not scared of you feeling like you don't have any more trust in him. He is not scared of you saying that I don't have the courage. He's never asked you to have the courage. What he is asking for you is to allow him to step in and give you the strength that you need in order to take you to your next destination, to bring you through that. And I pray that if you are experiencing thoughts of suicide, if you are feeling alone, that you reach out to someone, that you get the help that you need. And if you can't rely on friends or family because you're embarrassed, please contact 988. All you have to do is call 988 or text 988. And there are professionals that are readily and available to listen to you, to help you through it, connect you to resources if that's what you're needing. You don't have to suffer alone. There are options for you. And I pray that you know that there is nothing wrong with you for not being okay. You don't have to muster up joy. You don't have to muster up courage. All you have to do is simply be right now.